Okay, so welcome here. Yeah. Uh, Welcome on my talk about the space coin. So today I will tell you something more about the Orbital Trusted Party, and also known as the space computer, and what we are trying to achieve as the launch cost of the satellites actually is steady decreasing in the space industry, and why it actually is quite opportunity for now. So this is actually briefly the agenda. So we'll be speaking about why is actually the orbital data centers are right now the opportunity. Why is actually we see like that's why is the energy prices is decreasing up there. And then actually I'll tell you like how we're actually looking forward over the two-tier architecture, the fast finality, the network resilience, the consensus, and all the security services we try to provide in the future. So this is like the opportunity you can see. So why is actually really interesting, you can see on the chart on the right, is that actually the amount of the objects, like the satellites, are being launched these days are really much higher than in last 2 years than for like between the 1957 and 2010. So actually it's like really steady increasing thanks to the SpaceX program, other Chinese program and the Indian program and the reusable stages. And there is like much more companies working on this. So we see the price is coming down from the 15,000 per kilogram around from 2000 to recent it to 10,000 in 2019. To approximately around 5,000 per kilogram, and with the potential decrease up to $10. So what we actually gain for that is that you will have like reduce the cooling costs. You have like the access to the solar power. So actually the price per kilowatt hour will go low as 6,000 cents. And then actually you save on the water cooling, and potentially you can have like the lower latency between certain applications because you have like direct visibility between the data centers. So briefly, like what is the space coin? So you can see on the graph, does it have the laser?
Thank you.
Does it have pointer? Oh, this one, yeah. Okay, so this is briefly like this is actually on the Earth. Is actually where we are right now. This is actually technically our satellites, and there is actually other the providers and the consumers of our services. Where actually we are looking forward that on each the provider actually can run the satellite service provider, and we can technically create the payments between the machine economy will be up there because there will probably most likely less humans involved as we know it down on the terrestrial applications. And there will be like the communication between them and the bridging the various operations between them. So you can think about it as the L1 in the space with the currently soft finality. There will be like the network of the T's, and you can think about it as the marketplace and the payment layer for the other satellite service providers. So this is briefly like how we see it like we'll be providing the security between the Earth users. So you have like your Dishi or the Starlink, whatever you will like the terminals for the users. Will be technically like the RPC nodes, and they will be communicating with the satellite. So this could be like the Amazon WS, the ground station services, various the hobbies ground stations, and whatsoever you can beam any error signal later on the optical terminal, and then actually you can execute things on the smart contract on the satellites, and then actually you can get access to the network. Of course, eventually it will be much more cheaper, but now it's actually the entry is a bit expensive. So what's our track record for now is that we launched the crypto tree with the Iridium connection. I will explain it later what's the Iridium. Then we launched the end of the last year, we launched the satellites with the Iridium Next modem, which actually provides much more bandwidth between the satellites. And we did it with the Aptos Orbital XL CryptoSat. So maybe some OGs actually know the CryptoSat projects. And now actually we are looking forward to prepare the fleet of the satellites, which actually will be eventually communicate between each other. And with all of these, we'll be like immune to the traditional side channels and administrative tampering you have like down on the Earth here. So this is briefly like the top-down infrastructure, how we look like. So you can see like the Iridium network is this. So Iridium is now consisting around 66 satellites with 9 in the backup, some of them actually in redundancy sitting on the Earth, ready to launch imminent. It's like the really old network from late of the 90s, which have been gradually bootstrapped for the military purposes. It's mostly for the coordinating very some military equipment on the ground, but now it's actually opening more for the retail and other space applications, because their availability from the geostationary orbit means like it have like the oversight of all the planet. And maybe you heard about it. There is like the Garmin have this communicator, and you can messaging. So a lot of people who are doing the extreme sports maybe heard about it. It's like this helicopter phone. It's reachable really everywhere. Now it's actually Starlink doing the direct-to-cell, so they're similar and much cheaper. And then another layer is like with the CryptoSat, formerly known as CryptoSat, now is actually known as Aptos Orbital. And then actually we're building the layer we call like the space coin. And then we try to leverage all of these the properties. So Iridium network, the computation from the CryptoSat, and then actually will be gradually resistant for these various DDoS attacks and the censorship probably on the Earth. And we have like the multiple communication paths between the Earth once we're getting more satellites, and later on more communication providers. So Iridium is like just our first, but we believe there will be like more optical terminals in the future available on the market to use. So I will briefly walk you through our two-tier architecture. So how we think about it is like that we have layer one. So it's the celestial orbit security. So we're actually doing like the most valuable transactions, which will be eventually slow for now. And then layer two, which actually we call it like uncelestial on the Earth for scalability. And it's kind of the novel approach, where we're combining these benefits of the rollups, and we can like secure these transactions. So here you can see like the brief the schematics, like how the request goes. So the request goes to the leaders. So we will be like the first satellites which will be in the visibility window. They actually will be the proposing the consensus validations. Then these satellites will align on the voting. And eventually the confirmation will be beamed down back to the Earth, where actually we come back and do the final handshakes. So this actually we call like the streamline the consensus. And this actually also, it's a coined term to the Philip here in the first rows, the elastic leader selection based on the satellite reachability. So this is briefly like how it works, like leveraging the PBFT based the consensus with the instant finality. So this is actually where the satellites are in the reachability in any moment. So usually there is like either 1, 0, or 2, right? And depends also on the reachability that claims also the bandwidth and messages we can pass through. So this is because we actually in really constrained environment in the space. We are talking about 500 kilometers in the altitude. Sometimes will be even more, like 700. And currently with current consensus, we require only connectivity with one node as the leader. So this picture is more complicated. So here you can see the graph, how it goes in the steps. So first from ground stations, they'll propose on the first satellites, which is in the reachability. Then actually again starts the voting, and the voting actually is coming back on the ground station, where actually there is another step like this request coming back down, and the voting between the satellites and coming back to the ground station, where the other visibility of the satellites are. So this is briefly how things are currently working based on our blue paper. So we'll be more refine this in our future white paper, which is coming like this year soon. And then you can have like more questions eventually. So next stuff, this is like on the schematics. So how the uncelestial layer 2 with the fast pre-confirmation works. So this is the one, how we call the fastest path. So this is actually for instant interactions between the users and the L2. This is mostly for the transactions which have the lower value, and require the quick settlements. But actually no celestial L1 is actually involved in this setting. So you can understand it like you submit like on any L2s like these days, and nothing much to do with the L1 because it doesn't touch at all. But where in this, the second, like with the pre-finality with the backup, we'll be offsetting the attestations, if I'm right, that to the medium security path we called, with the fraud-proof windows, that where actually the confirmed transactions on the L2 will get the validator attestations, and they will be like the state will be updated, the states will be updated to the celestial L1 as the backup, and that actually will allows more time for the front challenges. And this is something like the middle ground, where actually we balance the speed and security. And the last one, the scenario, is actually where we have the The full finality with the fast pre-confirmations, which is like for the highest security path. You can think about like probably the Bitcoin is like closest to one, is where actually the things will complete the L1, the verification transactions, and it flows through the uncelestial L2 to the celestial L1. But the downside of this one is actually it requires the full consensus, so it will also take time, but the state will be fully committed to the celestial L1, so it will be like the longest block time in this case, which eventually, once we get more bandwidth, more satellites, will eventually decrease. But this is actually more intentionally for for high-value transactions. So what we can actually do with this is we can provide some security services. So most basic one is the functioning as the security processor. We can enable FAG potential as well. So you can think about it as we have the space compute in the orbit with the physical isolation. We can also provide the secure custodian, so you can understand under this like the key management. So you can store your keys with our CubeSats, and it will be in fully permissionless mode. Then we can provide the cosmic entropy as we have the exposure for the sun radiation. We can provide the highest grade of the entropy for the application down here on the Earth until you trust the Cloudflare lava lamps. And then actually we came up with another use case like the secure deletion with the physical guarantees. So if we have like technically some eternal bulletin board, we can prove that it's deleted and nobody will touch it or try to recover it from the hardware because the cube itself actually is flying 7 kilometers per second. And that's like the eternal bulletin board capabilities. So this is actually for the smart contract capabilities, if some people are asking. So current plan is like the support EVM compatibility. Then actually will be like having the initial deployment focusing on the bridge contracts, and the future will be like extensibility through the risk VN-based VMs as well. So, and the go-to-market we are thinking about is like we are looking actively for L2 partnerships. So if you are building L2, feel free to reach out, ping me or anybody from the team. The use case is like the checkpointing is like good for the preventing the long-range attacks, which is like pretty new, I would like to say, from 2022. Then we'll be like offering the true random generator and the pre-confirmation for the soft finality with our L1. Then there is like a potential for the multi-prover scenario, L2 scalability for the usability for Spacecoin as the DR layer, and obviously the biggest machine-to-machine, the satellite economy, which actually happened on the orbit and the cislunar on the moon. So if some people are asking about the costs, the current launch costs are somewhere around 5,000 per kilogram, with the prospect to decrease like to $30 per kilogram in less than a decade. So I think it will happening soonly. We'll see like how the Starship, the chopsticks will project like probably the new prices for the new slots launching satellites in the future. And for satellites per computation, it also depends on the configuration. So you can think about it. Cheapest option we currently have with prospected partner is like the 80K, where we're actually using on the part of the other satellite, where being as the free flyer could go up to 3 million per satellite. But it actually can provide much more than you have like currently available under your fingerprints in your notebook. And the current maintenance costs are approximately around 200K yearly. It's mostly involving managing the communications, the subscription for the communications, and all the personnel involved. And this is briefly like our approximate roadmap. So we hope that during the eDenver we can demo some things already. And we'll be releasing the white paper as well. And we'll be releasing the flash out specs for the L1 and eventually integrating the first L1 with the L2s. So that will happen this year for sure. And I think we are actively looking for the L1 and L2 foundation. So if you know any of your friends would like to have like a much higher security grade, we are open to any kind of the handshake. We are actively looking for the wallets. So we in chat with the Safe Fireblocks and similar companies, so we can like integrate the user assets being stored with us. We are actively looking for the validators who can run the satellites for the network as well. We can guide them through, and the entropy providers who can like the providing entropy or want to get entropy from us. So please, let's get in touch. And yeah, feel free to scan the codes. So this is the Space Coin, the Twitter, the first one. There's the Philip, he's sitting over there in the blue sweater. This is the Daniel, he's in Australia currently. And yeah, this is me. Feel free to reach out, connect. And if you have any curious questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Wow, amazing project. Actually, a lot of things happening ahead of you guys. Amazing roadmap. I'm sure it sparked a lot of questions, so now is the time. If someone want to do some question to Matej.
Feel free to ask any questions. Yeah, currently we plan to have around 20 satellites. There's frequent. We have also FAQ on the website, so we handle the questions, but happy to answer now. If anything. You can shoot anything you're curious about the space compute. And
I do have one if you want.
Yeah, go on.
Actually, so how are you going to demonstrate in Ethereum Denver the first idea? Because at least for me, that was a very disruptive project. So how is it going to look like this? What can we expect?
Well, I think we will to demonstrate the entropy from the CubeSats, which will be sort of verifiable, and we'll be working with the partners which are actually available on the markets, so they can technically use our entropy for their the things you have the Lotto, if you know the PGF, so we can probably work with them and other similar foundations which are actually providing whereas actually the VRF and VDF is actually important for them. So that's actually one of this.